gotta watch this show, this movie, like they're talking about it's the best thing ever. And then you end up going and watching that show or movie, and it never quite reaches that level. Like you watch it, you watch it, and you're like, you know, it was just okay, right? Like you go into it thinking and they talk it up, they're like, it's the best thing ever, and it never quite lives up to those expectations, right? So what I want you guys to do today is take those high expectations and just put them to the bottom, like bottom of the barrel, like as low as possible. And the main reason why you guys should do that is because I'm not up here because I'm trying out for Acme next week or anything like that. I'm not trying my material. I'm not up here because I hope there's a talent scout out here that is, trying to find the next top comedian. I'm actually up here because I lost at fantasy football. And my punishment is that I have to do stand-up comedy. So here I am. So thank you guys for showing up. Shout out to my fantasy football group here. Yep. So I actually worked at Target for about 6.5 years back in like high school and college. And if any of you guys ever worked in like retail or the service industry, you'll know that you end up dealing with a lot of crazy guests over the years. So, for example, one time I was sitting there at Target, it was like middle of the day, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and this guy just comes full sprinting down like it's Black Friday, he's looking for like a new TV or whatever. He's just running, sprinting down the aisle, and he's like, hey man, where are your guys' condoms? And I was like, well, they're actually in aisle A16. And just a little sidebar here, I just gotta give a shout out to my dad who actually came up with the aisle numbering system for Target. So if you guys have any questions about that, he was the one who actually came up with all of the aisle numbering system. So thank you, Dad, for helping this guy out. So this guy, he comes running out of the aisle, he's like, hey man, thanks! And just sprinting up to the front of the store, and I'm sitting there, to this day, I'm like, what is the situation that this guy was going through? Like was she in the car, like, a certain time limit, or she turned into a pumpkin at 4 o'clock? Like what is this? To this day, I have no idea what that situation that guy was. But you also, if you guys have worked in retail, you know that you deal with a lot of really terrible, rude guests. And so I was zoning the shampoo aisle. So if you guys don't know what zoning is, if you've never worked in retail, zoning is where you actually pull all the product forward, make it look all pretty, turn everything, make it look really nice. And so I was pulling all the shampoo bottles forward, making them look perfect. And I just gotta say, ladies, like, with shampoo bottles, I'm 99% sure they just take all of the bottles and they're just made in a factory in China somewhere. And they just pour different flavors in and they put different scents to make it, and then they just put, non-GMO, low fat, like just different things on it just to scam you into buying like the fancy bottles. But anyway, so I was pulling all the product forward, and these two old ladies walked in the aisle, and one of them knocked over one of the bottles of shampoo. And so, like any of you guys would do, she bent over to pick it up, and her friend stopped her and said, no, stop. That's his job, and pointing at me. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, she literally told her friend to not pick up that bottle of shampoo. So I walked over and I was like, just put it right in her face. And I was like, biting my tongue. I'm like, I don't want to get fired today. But I was like, are you serious? Like, you just told your friend not to pick that up. Yeah, anyway. Another great example. So I was sitting at Target. So you guys know those electric carts, those electric scooters in the front of every store for people that are too lazy to walk inside of Target. So I was sitting there and I was riding. This old guy was riding this electric scooter, this big dude. He was trying out for NASCAR or something. He's coming roaring right in the back of the store. And I'm sitting in the back corner of the store, doing whatever. And this guy comes up, he's like, hey man, where's all your guys shotguns and ammunition and all your fake gear? And I was like, well, we actually don't sell any of that here at Target. And the guy goes, what do you mean you don't sell it? And it was like, sidebar, I just gotta say, if I had never heard of Target before, I would probably, I can kind of understand what he was saying. The logo is a Target, and the name is Target, so it's kind of makes sense why he probably was confused why we don't actually have any of that stuff at Target. But, so the guy, was like, where's all, and I was like, well, unfortunately, we don't sell any of that stuff here. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, you just gotta walk over to Walmart across the street. And So the guy in protest gets up in the middle of the aisle, he left his electric scooter thing, and just started waddling up to the front of the store. Some say he's still waddling to this day, walking all the way up to the front of the store. But I got to jump on the electric scooter, ride up to the front, which was pretty fun. I can see why people actually rent those things out, because it's pretty fun. But probably my favorite story was I was zoning back in toys one day, and this woman walked up to me, and she had these two dolls. So one of the dolls, they were the exact same doll. Same package, same everything, except for one thing. So it was the same clothes, everything on it, except for one key thing, skin color. So one of the dolls was white, and one of the dolls was black. And this woman comes up to me and she goes, "Why is the black doll on clearance and the white one's not?" And I was like, "Well, I don't set the prices, I'm sorry." And this woman's like, "I need to talk to the manager right now." And so she like started huffing and puffing, was getting super mad, so I walked her up to the front of the store, and she's like, we're up in front of all the checkout lanes and everything, and she's sitting there and she's like, starts yelling and just going crazy in front of everybody. And my manager starts talking to her, and the manager's like, "Well, unfortunately, products that don't sell as well end up going on clearance." And she just like took it to another level and just started like freaking out and yelling like, "What?" and just calling us racist and just going off, and it was just terrible.